Hi, I'm Shubha Narayan, and joining us now is Mr. Andrew Turner, General Secretary, World Foundry Organization from Birmingham. Hello Andrew, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome to IFEX 2012 and welcome to the Pavilion of Forace Polymers. Andrew, to begin with, how do you find the IFEX this year?
IFEX this year is clearly very impressive, being the largest foundry show so far held here. For my interest from the UK, India is a very important market, both in terms of castings production and many foundries, so it's clearly an important place to be.
How did you find our pavilion architecture in particular?
I think this facility is one of the best I've been to with IFEX, I've got to say. Clearly, occasionally, with the problems of moving IFEX around the regions for the IAF, that can also be a problem. But this facility is truly excellent.
Well, thank you for that, and tell us a little bit about your organization.
Okay, the World Foundry Organization is about 80 years old now and was created to bring together technical associations from around the world. The aim being to allow information flow on a non-commercial basis between countries in the early days of growth within the foundry industry. And we now represent over 30 countries, mostly technical associations from South America, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, through US, the whole of Europe and Scandinavia, and then Asia, including obviously the very important part of India.
Oh, that's good coverage there. Yeah. And how has your journey in particular been in the foundry industry?
I began working in foundries. My father was a foundryman, so my first trip into a foundry was when I was 4 years old.
All right.
And I always wanted to work in the foundry industry. I studied metallurgy at Birmingham University and then joined my father's company straight from university and progressed then to a point where I owned my own very large iron foundry in the UK and then moved into basically trying to give something back to the industry in running associations that support the industry globally.
Okay. Now Andrew, in any industry if you take, has its own set of challenges, isn't it? Now what are some of the major challenges according to you in the foundry industry?
I think the major challenges for the global casting industry is an environmental issue. Foundries get a very bad reputation in a large extent for being a polluting industry. Whereas if you actually consider the fact that foundries have been recycling scrap materials from the very beginning, even before recycling was even thought of as a word, we are a very green industry in principle. There are obviously some issues on materials that are used in the industry, but I think now people...
What kind of materials in particular?
Well, people can always come up with concerns over materials. There are concerns over silica sand even, which is a natural material found and dug out of the ground, but people do have concerns and worries about the implications of using silica sand. We've got to try and educate people that the industry is a very responsible industry. We have a history of being responsible, and the control and development of systems within the industry is there to protect our environment and ensure that the foundries are environmentally secure, but also the products that we're making are becoming more and more viable to assist in the global challenges of energy conservation.
Okay, becoming environmentally friendly, would you say?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And energy particularly. And in fact, within the World Foundry Organization, we have two commissions. We have a number of commissions, but two particular commissions which are globally managed and run, look into the environmental issues and into the energy conservation and use. The Environmental Commission is based out of our Swedish member, and the Indian Institute of Foundrymen actually control our Energy Saving Commission.
All right. Now, according to you, what kind of strategies should foundries come up with to tackle some of these challenges?
I think, again, foundries are generally driven financially. Okay. There is a commercial interest to save energy and to be more green and energy efficient. And I think that in all of these areas, that is one of the driving forces, which is also an advantage.
Yeah.
So if you use less energy, that's good for the environment, but it's also good financially because you're having to pay for that
So try
energy.
and conserve energy as much as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What are the future trends in the foundry industry?
I think the foundry industry will continue to grow. The projections are that we will go back into in excess of 100 million tons of castings produced globally within the next 2 years. Clearly there was a setback following the economic crisis of 2008 when the industry suffered very badly from a decline in consumption, particularly in the automotive sector where the predominant number of foundries.
Right.
But following that decline and recession of that period, the industry has come back and bounced back in all sectors now.
Would you think they've recovered now?
Yes.
Have they?
Yes.
Okay.
Some sectors are still a little slow. Construction industry in the West
All right.
is still a little reduced, but in general, nearly all sectors, energy, transportation, automotive, are all back at growth levels in the foundry industry. There is clearly a trend of movement of production from the West to the East, which is where now most of the demand is, as through the growing populations in Asia and India, of course.
Yeah. Okay, one last question before we let you go, Andrew. 5 years from now, what sort of changes do you perceive in the foundry industry?
I think there will be big changes, particularly in the developing countries, or the developing countries like India and China, where they start to see the fact that they currently ride on a little bit of the ability to use low-cost labor.
Okay.
So efficiency is not a driving factor within these foundries.
Okay.
You can employ significant numbers of people and still be competitive. The problem is that more people introduce more variation, and I think that the reduction in people and move to automation will be a strategic part in the increase in the quality of the castings that can be produced.
Is it possible to have fully automated systems in foundry?
I personally don't think so.
Okay.
I think there will be a significant move. There are some very, very good foundries with very low levels of labour, but you will always still need people. And in fairness, the technical knowledge of people within our industry is one of its biggest assets. The technical knowledge, both from the suppliers and within the companies, is key to the growth of our industry.
All right, well, thank you so much for your valuable time, Andrew, and thanks for being with us and enlightening us with all that information. Have a good day here at the event. Thanks.
Thank you, Shobha. Bye-bye.